Meanwhile, our political leaders still don't grasp the demoralisation and sense of despair felt right across the community. The quiet Australians are still silent Australians. I suspect not for long. Greg wrote to me, quote, "My father fought in the horrors of the New Guinea campaign for what? My dad would have been horrified to see what's become of this beautiful country, and I'm sure he wouldn't be standing around silent in respect of what's happening." Dave has said, "I feel like we're in Nazi Germany. My spirit is getting crushed, and I know this is the main plan, to crush our spirits, make us sheep and turn on each other." Well, let's look at that word crushed. There are young people in New South Wales and over the country, of course. I'm just dwelling on New South Wales for a reason. And they're preparing for critical exams in a year where their study has been hopelessly ruptured. But these young people are also netball players and rugby league players. One of the big schoolboy clashes every year in rugby is between the oldest private school in Australia, the King's School, and the rugby factory St Joseph's College. Boys want to do what their dad did, play for the firsts in the big game against Joey's. In netball, girls preparing for months for state championships. Enter, yes, the Chief Medical Officer, supported by Gladys Berejiklian. Apart from Victoria, there are 11 people across Australia in hospital and 8 in intensive care. These young sports people see the Storm playing the Roosters on TV, the Waratahs playing the Reds. But yesterday, no justification, Berejiklian and co called off school sport. But of course, the footy's on the TV tonight. What do kids think? I was being inundated with parents telling me the emotional impact on their children. The decision was heartless and without foundation. There's not one bit of scientific evidence to support what they're doing. But what's worse, another notice then arrived across my desk. Quote, "New South Wales Rugby is pleased to confirm community rugby will continue this weekend as planned." Can you believe it? Community sport on, school sport banned. Disgusting, disgraceful, totalitarian, dictatorial, make it up as you go rubbish. Well, I hit the phones. I won't say much more than that, other than I spoke to a few people about this. Not unusual stupidity. School sport is now back on, thanks to a very sensible acting New South Wales Sports Minister, Jeff Lee. But Gladys Berejiklian, your party is getting tired of this stuff. It wants a leader, not a follower. Gladys, I know you don't want people to be in a choir at school or to sing or to stand up or to kiss or shake hands at a wedding. You and Andrews and Palaszczuk and Marshall and McGowan and that bloke in Tasmania and the fellow in the Northern Territory, and yes, the Prime Minister, have no scientific justification for any of this stuff. And I quoted last night the peer-reviewed scientific report headed by the 20th century's most acclaimed disease eradicator, Professor Donald Henderson. Amongst other things, he said, and I quote again, "A policy calling for community-wide cancellation of public events is inadvisable. Cancelling or postponing large meetings will not be likely to have any significant effect on the development of an epidemic. A policy directing community closure of public events is inadvisable." But, of course, Gladys Berejiklian, like her state counterparts, listens to the Chief Medical Officer and ignores people like Professor Donald Henderson, while teenagers, allegedly preparing for final exams, were locking themselves in their rooms, traumatised. Well, thankfully that's ended. But no politician should be allowed to get away with this damaging behaviour, and I give you this guarantee, they won't.